Thank you. So hi everyone. Welcome to EPBS Breakout Call 23. I'll be subbing in for Will this week, who is busy participating in the ZK EVM AMA. I'll share the agenda right now. Here's a link. I think I'd like to start by discussing some of the open specification PRs for EPBS, all of which are actually from Terrence, by the way. Most of these are tests, but there is one which is maybe we need to chat about some. Let me share a link to it real quick. So this PR is titled Rename Execution Payload Header to Execution Payload Bid. POTUS, you had some comments about it?
I can give a brief update. So I believe POTUS has reviewed it and POTUS is good with it. And so there's a follow-up PR on top of that. Mainly, I guess like more of a general discussion is just that like previously we basically replaced the header with this notion of beep, but we still named it header. But that was in the same position in the state, and people generally didn't like the naming at all, right? And therefore, so what I did was that in this PR, I essentially replaced the name. But since the name is replaced, I'm changing it into a different field location. But then the previous header is still there. It just essentially stub zero. But then Francesco and POTUS both have like good feedback on like, okay, well, could we just essentially update the header during process payload, its execution payload, such that it's still same as today? And also because of that, we can also remove latest block hash, basically. And such, so, but my PR only does the first part. My PR just essentially does a renaming, changing to a different field location, but it's still stopped to zero. So we basically want to merge this as it is, and POTUS will open a subsequent PR that essentially updated, update the header same as today during process payload and removes the block hash. So POTUS will do the second part. So, but then sorry, I was under the impression yesterday I was reading the wrong PR that this has been merged, but it doesn't look like this has been merged. And there's a bunch of conflict. So yeah, this is my priority today. So apologize for the confusion to POTUS. And yeah, so my priority is to merge this today. But 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 I believe POTUS was good with it a couple days ago already, but now it just has conflict. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we can fix those conflicts and merge this today. I don't see any issues with that.
Thank you.
There were some more testing PRs. Is there any value in going over these? I mean,
I can quick go over this. So yes, we can do. I just haven't had the time and the energy to do it. I think process withdraw is just really hard. And then a couple of days ago, or weeks ago, I was seeing Discord message that like Francesco has some feedback. So I had a question on whether like get expected withdrawal will be refactored or something such that it's easy to test, but doesn't look like it. So I think I will pick this up again. It's just really hard to test because right now get expected withdrawal has three different sweep, and we put builders first. But after builder, there's the pending one and there's a full one. Yeah, I just haven't had the time, but we should definitely add the test for that. And also, if anyone has time and energy, feel free to take over on that. But if not, I will pick it up. It's just a little bit of low priority right now because I rather handle the other PR first.
okay. And for the other testing
And
PRs,
then that
I think,
fortress test, yeah, I just want to open. So the fortress test is more like a proof of concept. I wanted to instead of writing tests for Fortress specifically, I want to write down all the test cases first, and then have some sort of agreement on what are the test scenarios are. Because in EPBS there is this notion of empty, so it kind of makes it slightly more tricky to cover all the test cases. Yeah, so I wanted to write down the test cases first before I even write a spec code for that before I even write a spec test. So I believe I shared the test cases on HackMD a couple weeks ago. I haven't gotten any feedback I also want to look in Michael on this as well. I know he has been thinking about this along the line, but I think it's slightly low priority. I think like this is not really like a blocker for definite zero for Fortune's test, but yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
And
Could you share
let's
that?
see.
Could you share a
Yeah,
link to that
yeah,
in
I
the
will
meantime?
share that in a few minutes. Let's see. Attestation processing test. So that one is on POTUS to review. So POTUS will review that hopefully soon. And then execution payload availability reset test. Yeah, that one is also on POTUS. So the last two items are on POTUS's plate.
Okay, I agree. I guess the task items, we can probably merge the bottom three open PRs
Yeah, as long
today.
as yeah, as long as POTUS review the last two.
Okay. Is there any value in going over the merged PRs since the last breakout call? Or just maybe this is like a good brief overview, just looking at them?
I don't think so. I think like the important things, like some of those are actually structure changes. So yeah, so those are important for DevNet Zero. So I think for DevNet Zero, I think it's more important to come into consensus on what is the structure and what is the state transition function. So I wouldn't pay so much attention on like the for choice stuff and then the timing, the preset. But yeah, but I think the merge PR are important for DevNet Zero.
Okay, cool. I guess this is a good opportunity to talk about DevNet Zero sum. POTUS, do you know, or what are your plans for DevNet Zero? Do you have any timelines?
Yeah, so uh, we sort of like agreed to try to target end of October, even if it's a single client. That's starting to look very tight, but I think we still can make it. Having said so, I mean, as we were talking before this call started, there are three things that I can see would affect definite zero that aren't merged on the spec yet. One is for choice, is this get proposer head. That's not so problematic because that's not consensus breaking. But the other two are these decisions that are PRs that are even open. They're very minor, but we still need to make a decision. One is what Terence was mentioning, the fact that once we renamed the header for the bid, uh, the question is where to put it. My personal preference was to put it in the header's place. Like, even if it's renamed, just keep it there and remove the header that is completely useless in the beacon state. But I think Francesco did not like this, and I definitely know that the people from Lodestar did not like this because they prefer to never remove things from structures. Since it's just a header, then it's okay, so it's not so bad to keep it. But then if we keep it, it doesn't make any sense to have it as it is now or as it will be when we merge Terence's PR, that it would just keep it as a completely useless structure, which is empty it out. So I think we should agree on merging this thing, which would be to keep the header with the same functionality as today, remove the latest block hash because it's going to be included in that header, and then add a new field, which is the bid. That's already added in Terence's PR. So I think I'll open a PR to just keep the header. That should be very simple. It just keeps the header. It updates the header whenever we process a payload, and so that's yeah. So that's another transition. And what else? That's it.
How do other client teams feel about this?
Lighthouse can do either pretty easily.
Okay. And I see from Stefan at Teku, this sounds good to him too. Okay, cool. Yeah, please open the PR.
There was another one that is escaping my mind now, and Terence just mentioned it, and I'm blanking out. But there's another issue. I'll just recall it in a second. But once we have those, I think we just freeze. Oh, yeah. So there's this issue. Uh, well, there's this issue with expected withdrawals that Terence mentioned that that it might be changed Francesco, and I think he was just relaying a message from Barnabé, who was worried about the fact that you could just exploit the fact that the builders' withdrawals are processed before the remaining ones in get expected withdrawals. It's sort of like a very weird attack to like try to cut the line to use those withdrawals because those are like just one per block that you can just add. But anyways, I don't know how to change that, or I mean, in principle, you could just move it in the end, but then it becomes a problem, and then the builders themselves have some churn. So it's not really clear how that's going to change. Even if it's changed, I'm not against changing it. But the problem to me is that if we keep delaying setting this, freezing the spec for DevNet 0 in those kind of changes, then we're never going to make it by the end of October. So my proposal would be to keep the withdrawal paths as they are now. Whenever that's researched, and even if we merge now a fix, we still keep the spec frozen as it is now, plus this thing of like adding the header. Try to target DevNet 0 and then move on with the remaining items that are missing. One would be this overhaul of withdrawals. I think Alex Stokes also wanted to look at this in general. Like the spec is really horrible for withdrawals now. And also the builder spec. We need to look at the Beacon API. Shan opened a PR. There's some reviews. I think it's good. So the Beacon API, I don't think there's any contention. But the builder API needs to be designed, but it's also outside of a spec for DevNet 0. So my wish would be to set the scope for DevNet 0 now as the spec is today, plus this issue of the header, leave the withdrawals as they are, and start to actually start coding on our main branches.
I agree with this as
Just
well.
a
You go,
question about
Francesco.
withdrawals. They're not really skipping any line, right? Like there's because it still uses compute exit epoch and update churn for the even for the builder stuff. It's just that among things that have the same exit epoch, they're first, which doesn't really seem much of an issue to me. Like I know that I brought this up, but yeah, then at least I looked at it more and it didn't seem like an issue to me. And I think Barnabad looked at it like summarily like a while ago, so I don't know that he also like had deeper thoughts about this than this. So if this understanding is correct, I think yeah we can leave it like this.
Okay. And how do other clients feel about the October DevNet 0 timeline? Like, I know you only need or want one client, but it'd be nice to have two. I'm assuming the one client would be Prism, right, POTUS?
It's not clear. Teku was more advanced than we were.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess it depends. We've started doing some work with flows, so it's possible October, but we haven't started on the more complicated parts. So yeah, I'm not 100% confident.
Okay. Is there anything you need from like specs wise, like a release with new tests and stuff? I'm assuming we'll have probably multiple by then.
Yeah, the header thing is going to change. So the header thing is going to change the state transition. So that's going to be my priority even before reviewing Terrence's PR is to have that PR with the header changed today.
Okay. And if we get that merged and included in the next release, which I guess would be beta 0, then you could probably start working off of that soon, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else about DevNet 0 or yeah, POTUS?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. That's fine. Let's move on to the next agenda item then. Shane, are you here to talk about the EPBS Beacon API standardization?
Yeah, certainly. I'll drop the PR in the chat. And yeah, as you mentioned for DevNet 0, yeah, I know some client teams will have a single process where they don't really use the Beacon API between validator client to the Beacon node to propose blocks and whatnot, but at least other clients do. So that'd be very good to have this at least like in a pretty good spot for the DevNet 0. And I was thinking it would probably be like a pre-release. I at least saw on the Beacon API, like GitHub that they do support like pre-release versions, which is nice. And my first kind of question is, how many people should we try to get reviews from? I just posted this already so far in the like EPBS channel, but maybe there's other forums where we could move the needle as well. What's the normal process? I guess is my question. Bug people, which people?
We're giving our team James and Radic to also look into this. Just they are more on the Beacon API side from the Prism side. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Radic took a look last night. I appreciated that.
If it were me, I'd probably just reach out to Nico Flake and just bother him about it.
Okay. Yeah, he also I think commented on one thing as well. But yeah, I kind of thought like, okay, maybe we need like Grandine and other folks as well. But if that's not the case, then sure.
Oh no, feedback from client teams would be good too.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we can move into other questions that are probably interesting to talk about. So yeah, a lot of new APIs, as you can kind of tell. Like we're gonna need to be able to get bids now, and also we're gonna need to be able to get envelopes and sign and then publish those guys to the network and payload attestations as well. We're gonna be able to get PTC duties. So those are the new things. But more interestingly, I think is like the modifications to existing APIs. So we currently have like a get block, and that get block is cognizant if it's receiving a blinded or unblinded block, and the block comes back with blobs and like KZG commitments. And now in GLOASS world, it's simpler. We just get back essentially a beacon block, and it's never blinded or unblinded. So the question became like, oh, do we keep this V3 endpoint currently that has and just update the response object to get rid of this concept of blinded, unblinded, get rid of the blobs, or do we make like a V4 endpoint that's obviously separate. So you can see kind of pros and cons to both of these things. If you do the V4 endpoint, I kind of think it's probably cleaner code. Because if you think about, just modifying produce block V3 response, you're going to have more kind of like messy conditional logic potentially to try to handle like, oh, are we receiving this like unblinded like tag in the header or not, and then have conditional logic based off of that, and it's supporting all the different previous forks. Whereas if we kind of go with like the produce block v4 response, then it's obviously cleaner. We just have to put at the fork transition in the validator client that once you hit GLOASS epoch, switch over to the new endpoint. And yeah, I've definitely seen all these comments with like it seems like preference so far is towards the produce block v4. And yeah, I'm totally cool either way. I spent a lot of time thinking about like A versus B, and couldn't decide in the end. So I figured I'd open up to everyone else, and figured I'd also ask on here if anyone else has an opinion on A versus B, produce block v4 response or produce block v3, keep as modified. That says Nico said v4 would be better, and yeah, I mean we could totally roll with that if that's like kind of like consensus.
Does anyone else have an opinion here? Stefan also says that he thinks V4 sounds better.
Sweet.
Okay, let's just proceed with V4 then.
Okay, cool. And I also noticed in the header that there's this consensus block value field that goes back in the like produce block v3 response. At least in my house, they don't seem to be using it. I'm curious if any of the other clients know if they use this field for anything. It kind of just tells you the rewards that you would get from proposing a beacon block, transaction fees accumulated kind of thing. I'm just asking because I don't know if we need to support this field or not going forward.
So I think there are two things about values. One is the value that you would get from a payload that we use to compare against the builder's bid. But then there's also this value that you get from consensus when proposing a block. And I think this is a request from Vouch. So I don't know if the people that typically deal with Jim are here, but otherwise I would just reach out to Jim and
Yep.
ask him, because I assume that that's going to be a hard request from Vouch.
Yeah, that
Because
was
they
the
want, so
that's the one I
they
was
need
talking about.
who's the best block from consensus side, and then he chooses this based on the value.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe
Transactions,
Jim is
yeah.
retired now, by the way. So
Oh
Chris
wow,
just
this
mentioned
I did
Chris
not
Berry.
know. I think he's still in PG. Wow.
Oh, yeah, I forget who mentioned that, but yeah, he left a while ago.
Okay, Chris Berry, it seems. Cool.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, it's good to know that there's probably some use case there. Anything else that's kind of useful? If anything else in the comments part of this task?
Sorry, are you asking me
Oh
to?
yeah, sorry. Do we need a new endpoint that could be used to signal creation and gossiping of data column sidecars by whoever's bid is included in the consensus block? Or perhaps this can be triggered after the call to release a sign execution payload envelope. Yeah, was curious because just didn't see anything particularly in the spec that says like how we're gonna release blobs going forward. Maybe it's dealer's choice or whatnot, but it's typically like Valerie client driven or like builder also could be builder driven as well if they win the bid. So yeah, just curious how we plan on signaling blob release going forward, and if we need a new API for that or kind of trigger it as on like hook into the envelope releases.
Can I ask how is this typically done by? I was surprised to see your comment in that PR. How are clients that use the Beacon API doing this now? Because we release the blobs when we release the blob, so that triggers it, and that's it. I don't know how other clients do it.
Yeah, I mean, at least from reading through Lighthouse, it seems that whenever you get the block back from the beacon node, it'll come back with the blobs. And then when you go to like sign it and then release the block back to the beacon node, you also send the blobs back. And I'm pretty sure whenever you send it back, it triggers creating these data column sidecars. I was thinking with GLOASS, we're not going to have the blobs necessarily whenever we, get the consensus block back and get the consensus block to the validator client and then sign it and post it. So it's
But I guess
outside
my
of that
question
normal
is, why
flow.
do you need to have the blobs anyway, even today or even after GLOASS? So after GLOASS, I would just request the payload envelope to sign, get the payload envelope to sign, and then just post it and never even ask for blobs at all. And just have the beacon node, whenever it's posting the payload envelope, also broadcast the blob sidecars, build and broadcast the blob sidecars.
Mm.
So I don't understand why there should be even a trading back and forth between the validator client and the beacon node for blobs.
Mm. Yeah, so I think what you're saying is go with that second option of whenever you release the execution envelope, also trigger creating the column sidecars and gossiping those.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That was one of the ideas I was thinking. Cool.
I think, by
And
the
then
way,
it's
this
nice
is
you
what
don't need
we're
a new
doing now.
endpoint. Yeah.
I think this is what we're doing now on Prism.
Mm. Cool. Think
Yeah.
anybody?
No, I was just going to ask if there's anything else you'd like to talk about regarding API, Beacon API.
I think I'm good. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic. 1 second. I guess the next topic is Barath and his, well, I posted some questions, but he wants to talk about like the impact to relays and out of protocol software like map boost and commit boost. Barath, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so I spent some time thinking about like how the builder API could look like. So, I mean, so like with EPBS, I think one of the things I was thinking about is, so let's say we have like off-chain relays, which have not been like staked with the protocol, the design kind of gets like a little like weird, right? Like, let's say you have an off-chain relay who like they have a execution payload header. You need kind of like four like API calls, right? In the sense like the validator first queries the relay, gets the header, creates a beacon block, and then again, since the validator has to sign the execution payload envelope, which is created by again the off-chain relay. So kind of you have. I was thinking about, okay, there's going to be a system with like four API calls, but I think Porter's like you in the chat and Discord, you mentioned one of the things that Prism is probably not going to support like blind signing, like in the sense that uh like at least by my understanding, you wouldn't support like relays or builders which are not staked with the system. So I think one of the things like I wanna just like get some understanding is how is the client teams now thinking about off-chain relays with EPBS, right? Like are uh, are the client teams very particular that um, we only like have like a direct connection with builders who are staked, or are they also open to having like supporting systems for off-chain relays, like which are not staked in the system? Because at least in my head, like it kind of for the off-chain relays which are not staked, the design gets a little weird. Like the technical design gets weird. Like you have a validator who poses like they're self-building, but they are kind of querying an off-chain relay and stuff like that. Whereas if you're only like having direct TCP connections with builders staked in the protocol, like it feels like kind of easier. You just get the execution payload header, and the builder is responsible for broadcasting the envelope to the PTC. So I just want to get a sense of how the client teams are thinking about this. Do you want to support like off-chain relays, or are we specifically only want to support like builders who are staked? And if somebody wants to support like a relay which is not staked, you fork your own client and make the changes. Like,
Maybe we can start with POTUS. POTUS, do you have any opinions on this?
Oh, I don't know. We haven't talked to Prism, but as a team, but I am fairly certain that we as a team would agree in not supporting this. And I don't see why the spec should specify this, even if clients were to support such a thing, I don't see why it would be specified as it is not today.
To be clear, this is like external third-party software, like MapBoost.
Yeah, so signing something that you haven't produced.
hmm. And when you mean signing something you haven't produced, just for me to clear my head, like you mean like signing something which doesn't come from the protocol, like from a stake builder or something?
Signing, for example, an execution payload envelope that is blind, to which we only have a block hash and we don't have the payload.
Got it. So you're generally saying like you wouldn't want to like do that. Like you ideally want to only like support like talking to stake builders, like.
Correct. I think that if the problem is having to have some sort of off protocol mechanism that would be supported by clients like at least Prism, I think builders should try to pull together stake, get a relay that is staked, and provides this service for those builders that don't want to have staked themselves. And then you can even channel payments off protocol on the execution layer. Just agree to have a bid for, say, one way and channel the payment on the execution layer. There's a lot of design around this. And all of that design, I think it should be done within the protocol. What we see as a CL client should be within the protocol, and whatever happens off protocol, well, it just specify whatever it is off protocol. I don't see why consensus clients should be specifying a way of getting away of the protocol.
Okay, got it. So you
Personally,
basically like, yeah, go for it, Justin. Sorry.
I was going to say personally, I agree with POTUS's take. It'd be really nice if everything was just in protocol, and like the idea of builders pulling together and just staking like a relay sounds ideal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like I think, do you guys see a world where like rather than just like a builder like Titan staking, it would mostly be like relay staking, and builders like are these like non-stake entities who like who go through these relays. I guess in today's world you can also think of relays as builders. They're like they're kind of like interchangeable at a point, but I guess like maybe somebody like an ultrasound would probably like stake, and other builders like submit through them. Like, do you guys see like something like that? Like,
Yeah, I mean that's how I see it.
mm,
Lorenzo.
Hey, just want to add a comment from our perspective. Well, I guess from Titan. I think someone was making a good point on the Discord that in a lot of cases I guess, is partly, let's say, the capital that is required to be staked, but also the expected value of producing a block. So on a lot of blocks, let's say the builder either makes no money or on average loses money, let's say, if he subsidizes. But let's say he makes no money because even if there is like a top line profit, let's say, a lot of the profit actually is rebated to the apps and the originator. So the builder itself, let's say, makes often very little on the block. So bidding on chain when there is a chance for the block to be, let's say, not to land is negative expected value. So yeah, I guess just that's, I think, a good point from our perspective. Whether clients are thinking about to support that or not, I guess, should be considered. That being said, I do agree that maybe this exact protocol should not be, let's say, in the spec if it's cleaner.
mm, wow.
Thanks. How do other client teams feel about this? I don't want to call anyone out.
Yes, I'm technical here. So how would then proposers connect to builders? There would be a builder API change, I guess, to connect directly to builders. I'm, yeah, I understand how the local flow will work, but I'm not sure on the builder one. Or there is no current design.
Yeah, POTUS.
I think so. Stefan, we can talk about this in a second. I think there's essentially no changes, but I think the question that that Justin is asking you is how you guys feel about supporting not only like connecting directly to builders, but connecting directly to relays that are not builders, that are not state.
Also, then we basically create a, like the proposer creates a bid, kind of like a pack, or I don't know how it will work if the
I guess I'm just
relation
asking if
stake.
like
Justin,
keep-
can I describe what would be the flow of blind signing?
Yeah,
sure, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the flow for blind signing would be like this. You start the slot, you request bids from relays, as you do today with MedBoost. The relay returns a bid, which is not signed, like the execution bid now, that would be signed by a builder. It would just come with a hash, everything but the signature. So the signature would be the point at infinity. So you choose the best bid for yourself. You put the value to be 0 because you're going to be self-building, and you sign the block and you submit the block. Okay, so at this point, the relay knows that their bid was chosen, and then you call them to request the payload envelope. They send you a blind payload envelope. So that means the payload envelope, but with the hash, not with the block itself. You sign the payload envelope as if you actually built it, because you need to sign it because the bid did not include a signature. You submit it as if you were locally building. So you sign the payload envelope and you send it back to the relay, as you do today when you send the block today. The relay reassembles the full payload envelope with your signature, but with the builder's payload, and broadcasts it. So that would be the flow that it would be required from clients to support if you want to have MEV boost like today. And what I'm saying is that Prism will not support this.
Oh yeah, this seems like a hack just to support. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I think we also will be against that, and it will just complicate the implementation.
I think I agree as well. Francesco, you left a comment in the chat. Would you like to talk?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why, if you wanted to support bidding in some way that doesn't require putting value at risk, essentially. Like which, for example, could be the case if you want to, I don't know, maybe make a bid that's much higher than the stake that you have, or just, I don't know, like I guess if these issues that the people from Titan were bringing up prove to be like meaningful, like why would we do it in this complicated way that sort of looks more like MEV today versus just basically setting the bid value to 0 but still having the builder sign it already, like do the same exact flow as you would if you were doing everything in protocol, quote unquote, but with just the value being 0, and then you only just basically additionally require the real value to be specified like somewhere outside of that. Of course, like then, you wouldn't get the trustless payment thing and so on. But yeah, at least in my worldview, like that's just really not a big deal, and really trustless payments are mostly useful as a fallback. So I don't really, I mean, I guess there's two questions to this. Like one is like, if we did want to support something like this, why wouldn't we do it this way versus like this, basically thing that looks more like Map Boost, where you are actually signing with your own key. And then the other question is like, why wouldn't we support this? Like to me, it seems like we actually should support this. But yeah.
Lorenzo has a question about how would the value be specified, like in a header? It would be out of protocol. And
Yeah, I mean, it could, I don't know, be that the API just has this, you get the bid, and next to the bid, you get some other value. And if the bid value is 0, this other value has to be set to something else. And of course, I mean, you will only accept such, you only accept 0 value bids from, actors that you trust in some way. Like maybe you have a whitelist or something like that, like similar to MevBoost today, just with a different flow.
got it. Do any other devs have opinions on this? I mean, I'm interested to hear what other people think. Okay. I guess we can chat more about this offline, probably on Discord. Yeah. I think that's the last agenda item, unless we want to keep talking about this. Is there
A
anything
couple
else
extra
anyone wants?
questions about this like builder API that could be fun. So
Sure.
currently we were thinking that we would have the bids come back through like a direct HTTP like connection to the builder from the beacon node. That's one flow, and of course you can get bids back from the PTP as well. And I'm curious if we also want to support direct connection from beacon node to builder through HTTP to get back envelopes, if there's any benefit to that, or if we just purely plan to get envelopes through P2P.
You mean request an envelope from the builder?
Yeah, like we're requesting bids from the builder, or
I
would
mean,
be.
besides doing this thing of like going off protocol a la map boost, what would be the use of that?
I don't see one. That's why I was asking if we needed it at all. But I don't know. Just I know the original question was like, what kind of modifications do we need to the builder API? This was just something I thought could be worth talking about. Maybe the answer is no use.
So I think so, not for the current tip, but I think for previous payloads, Enrico was I don't know if he even opened this a while back, but I think there was there were talks about having ways of requesting past blocks and past payloads, both by range and by hash, and that would be a way of getting from the builder such a thing.
Hmm. And also, if we're going to do direct HTTP connections to builders from the Beacon node, would we support multiple HTTP connections to multiple builders? Because I think right now most clients are just kind of hitting like one endpoint to try to get back whatever the relays have decided is like the best bid, for example. And now we're saying like, yes, we can get bids through PTP, but most of it's going to come through direct HTTP connections. And like, are you managing, how many connections are you going to try to manage, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, I think clients need to implement what MapBoost does today. I think clients would have to be MapBoost. You just put a list of builders that you're connecting to. You send the requests to those builders. The request looks like it does no longer need builder registration. You request on the spot, you send the fee recipient that you are. I mean, again, we haven't decided on any of this. This is how I view the Builder API. You just send several requests to a list of whitelisted addresses that you have. Builders can advertise them anywhere. It doesn't matter because since you trust them anyways, because of trustless payment, you can just put the list however you want. You send in the request the usual data. I am proposing the next block. This is my parent block root. This is my parent block hash. This is my gas limit. And this is my fee recipient. Please send me bids for this. And well, that's it. You just have a timeout and you choose whatever bid by whatever algorithm you want, which one is the best, but then you only take back bids that are already signed. There is a request from builders into having this request being signed. I think we should probably defer this discussion for later.
Yeah, I mean, DevNet Zero is supposed to be just for like self-building support, right? It's still the plan. So yeah, this technically is kind of later scope.
Correct. I think it's fine to have the Builder API being correctly scoped, and we can do this now. But yeah, for DevNet Zero, it's only local building.
Cool.
Chris, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah. I'm curious with the two parts of the submitting bids through the P2P and then also the Beacon requesting direct bids. If we assume that mostly it will be the direct HTTP requests getting the winning bids, like why are both needed? Why is the P2P broadcasting still required as well? Or when do we expect that one to win and not the HTTP request?
So there's many reasons to have this. The easiest one is because it's trivial and it's not a DOS vector nor anything. But also like the thing is that this is actually decentralized. You don't need to advertise anything. We are going to have like people setting the floor price for bids. Like Prism itself will be a builder that will be submitting bids this way. My home node would be doing this, and any home staker can do this. I mean, of course, we don't expect these builders to win. The one situation where a lone staker might win a bid is someone and that doesn't build often, like not Titan. But I have some private information that will happen next block. Then presumably I can win over the P2P side because I can make a bid that with information that no one else has. I don't think this is so important, but it is important to have a decentralized way as a fallback because if there are only 2 builders or 3 builders, they might be offline. We can always fall back to self-building, but eventually we were going to be in a place where self-building doesn't really work. We want to be in such a place, like with just the blob count, for example. So this allows anyone with a good connection to be a builder, and it's a good fallback mechanism. Since it's very cheap and trivial to implement, it didn't make any sense not to have it.
Yeah, I think it would be good to highlight in the spec like which parts bids are expected to come in, because currently the specs looks like most bids would come or win through the P2P, and to have both clearly specified, I think that would be helpful.
Correct. So the Builder API is what is missing. So we haven't really specified yet the Builder API, which specifies how validators would request bids from builders. And we need to do that, indeed. But just the one extra point to your question on why the P2P side, if we have only 2 or 3 builders, then it's very easy to have a collusion and go off protocol. I don't know if it's easy, but it is plausible to, in a market with only 1 or 2 or winning builders, to have an off-protocol system. That's why I'm also against what Francesco suggested of having the payments coming off protocol in a draftless manner, because that sets itself for collusion. And then having a floor price at least sets a floor price.
So like basically when the slot starts, like the client would query 2 bid pools, right? You have the one bid pool from the direct TCP connection when you get bids from the direct connecting directly to the builder, and you have bids from the P2P pool. So you'd assume like the design is gonna be like you start the slot and like you probably have and you try to compare like where you get the highest bid from. So I'd assume you have a cutoff, like maybe after 1 second I look at both pools and which pool gives me the highest bid. I just go with that. Is that like my understanding correct that like
Yeah, the easiest way to implement is exactly as we do today, that you look at your local environment on how it is, and at the same time, you're sending on the background a request to MEP boost. So
okay.
your local view happened when you sent the request to local MEP boost. You could, in principle, do it the other order to give more time to P2P bids. But the easiest way is just you send your request with an actual timeout. It doesn't matter in that routine. And then that time, whenever that time's out, that's it. Or if you get a reply before your timeout, that's it. And you compare with your local view.
Got it. Now, I guess in this case, your local view will have your like a block you built locally. And are you including like the P2P pool
No,
also
so
in your
your local view is the P2P stuff as well.
Oh yeah, got it. That makes sense. Got it.
So in terms of the design of the Builder API, is that in process already right now, or who is in charge of that? And are like the relays involved? Is ultrasound involved? Is BuilderNet involved? Like Lorenzo's here, but it seems like it would be good if like relays and builders are involved in designing the Builder API.
Yeah, I think the only people that we talked about how it would be, that's why I know that there was a request of having them signed, are people from Titan. The idea was to try to keep it just exactly as it is today.
Okay.
So that is minimum change. And I don't see why we would have to make it different. The only difference that I see is that we no longer need registrations.
And that the stake collateral is needed.
Yeah, that's part of the protocol, right?
Yeah.
Lorenzo.
Yes, just a clarification. I think from our side, either sign or not sign is fine. So it's not like a hard request or a request at all. Just we thought would be like a natural kind of evolution, but either is fine. Yeah.
There's a question in the chat from Owen about the first block following the fork. Like, does it have to be a self-built block or not? POTUS, correct me if I'm wrong, like, can you create a new validator with a 0x03 with or credential? You can't, I don't think we'd be able to convert it prior to GLOSS, but I believe it's possible to create a new one. Is that right?
I think you could deposit it now. I don't know who would do it, but yeah. What we don't know how to do is to convert the home stakers into builders before, so an existing validator into builder before the fork.
Correct. That wouldn't be possible, but a relay could create a brand new validator as a 0x03 credential.
Yeah, but there's this issue of we need to understand how the sweep was going to work, because currently a 003 three prefixed validator will not be a compounding validator.
Correct.
So that's the issue. So then probably you're going to be swept. But I think it's, I mean, yeah, that's the situation.
Okay. Yeah, I need to look more into that as well. But it's yeah, good question, Owen. Anything else from anyone? Okay, I will return 6 minutes to everyone. Thank you for attending.
Thanks so much, Justin.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.